All right, so it says I'm going live, but as I know, I am actually completely live. So I'm going to say what is going on, guys. It is wonderful to see all of you. Don't forget to check me out at twitter.com/lore reloaded, as well as twitch.tv/lore reloaded. So as it says on the tin, we'll be talking about quite a few things, but generally, is CBS stealing the Borg plot from Bryan Fuller? So let's break that down. Let's kind of discuss it and see where we're gonna go with it. We got Andre Jovanovic, Art and Dyslexia. Hello from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Andrej. I said all of that right. Don't go back and check it. Denver Brock. We got Al Weifu in the house. Peter Grunick and Lord Kex. Of course, we can never get started until Lord Kex is here. So let's go ahead and start discussing this. And then, as always, you guys put your thoughts, and I'll definitely read it to you. I'll go ahead and give the spoilers of this. I honestly am not convinced that any of this is stolen. And I don't really think it's ripping off really anything, if I got to be honest. I don't think it's ripping off Star Trek Renegades to Freeze 1. And I don't think it is stealing at all. No. But, I'm open to the conversation. Gavin Velez says, hey, babe. So, hey, darling, I guess. Am I open to other topics? I mean, yeah, we discuss whatever. We come on here and we have a good time. So we're going to be listening a little bit to the Burnett work and discussing it a little bit. I could try to share his screen, but I don't think I can. And I didn't think to download it because I'm stupid. That's all right. We'll go ahead and play it. Let me make sure you guys can hear it. So let me know if you can hear this real quick.
In my mind, was interesting about what they've done.
Give it a few seconds. Can you hear that? Loud enough? Too loud? Overbearing? How did it come in? What is it? Okay? 1 for it's good, 2 for it's not good. Hey, Laura, have a like on me. Thank you. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well. Hidden Trail videos. 22 people watching at 10 likes. Hey, if you enjoy the channel, definitely hit that like button. Just slap it. It isn't. A threesome with the Borg Queen, Data, and Picard is very different than any normal Star Trek plot. I would agree with that. I don't think that is consistent with Trek historically, if you ask me. So I would definitively agree. All right, so we're going to get this started. I will include the link in the description. In fact, I will do it right here. You aren't missing anything on the screen, really. It is... it's really just him talking. So let's go ahead and get this party started. And before we get the party started, Functional says, but I mean, we haven't seen the darn show. How can anyone say it's a stolen story? The plot points, I think, is where he's going with it. Let's listen. Let's do it. Hey, Space Ninja, I'm a big fan of you.
And clearly, they're leaning heavily into the Borg mythology. We've also seen that the Romulans are a big part of this Picard show. Very, very interesting. But what I found most interesting about that
here we go
is I'd heard all of this before.
All right, so just to be that tease that everyone hates, what he's going to go into is he's going to discuss how this plot he's heard before. Again, based solely on a 2-minute video. And he talks about that. So this isn't putting down Burnett or anything like that. It's not an attack. This is just discusses ideas. And he discusses that he really hasn't he hasn't seen enough to know for sure. Aaron Telford helping out the channel, just so you guys know, Super Chats, Patreon, becoming a member through YouTube membership. That's how I keep the lights on, so I really appreciate it. Let's go.
This concept for a Picard series, it was something that I already knew about, and I'd already heard about it. And I'd heard about it from Bryan Fuller. Bryan Fuller pitched, I don't know exactly how he pitched it, but he came up with this idea, or a version of this idea that was actually registered with the WGA, and he spoke to both Jerry Ryan and Brent Spiner.
Now, Kowalski talked about this. He said he couldn't find it on the website because, for those who don't know, if you're a writer or you're in movies or you create something, you can actually register it not through just copyright, but through the Writers Guild and even through there's a Digital Cinematography Guild, I forget the name of it, to ensure all of the stuff isn't taken or stolen. That's what he's talking about. I wasn't able to find that either, unfortunately. But, I again take him at his word.
About this very topic, this very series, this very premise, a number of years ago when he was working on Star Trek Discovery, which I found fascinating because, as far as I know, Bryan Fuller is no longer involved in the creation of Star Trek. And it was shocking to me, somewhat shocking, that this series basically was his idea with a little tweaks, but it looks to be, I mean, judging from a 2-minute trailer, that's about all I could say. I mean,
this is his idea. So that's a pretty huge claim. Again, this isn't talking to Burnett. I'd love to have him on the channel. I like Burnett for the most part, but that's a pretty big claim. So what he's saying is that CBS, the executives, the writers, whoever, took it and decided to make it their own. Now, the one thing I'll say here is that Star Trek, the IP, the properties, are owned by CBS. And so if you come up with an idea that it basically uses everything from the Star Trek universe, and they decide to use it, I don't know that that's illegal, if I'm being honest. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but for instance, with Axanar, if they decided to take the entire Axanar beat for beat and put it into their universe, with the exception of maybe not utilizing some of the ships, but even then, let's assume that the ships you can't, but they do everything but using the ships, I don't think that's illegal. It's their property to begin with. Fair use allows you to take ideas and change them, but it's the form in which they change, right? So he's saying that, as we stated before, Bryan Fuller came up with this idea. He had it registered, and now it's being stolen. Even if they took it beat for beat, I'm not saying that it's moral. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Or that they should do it. I'm just saying I don't know that it's illegal. That's my opinion. I'd be interested in what you guys say. Aaron Telford, has Bryan Fuller said anything about this? Until he does one way or the other, I doubt all of it. I haven't seen it. I did do a cursory search. He may have, but I didn't find it. All right, so let's see what the idea is. Let's see where Burnett's going with this.
I don't know what the actual details are, but according to, I asked Bryan about this. I said, hey, man, didn't you come up with an idea similar? And he confirmed that, yes, he did. He had pitched 5 different ideas when he was originally developing Discovery. And make no mistake, it was Bryan Fuller who created Discovery. But anyway, so Bryan had this idea for something he called Data and Picard. And how it was pitched. And again, this is an idea that's registered with the WGA. So there's a date on it. And his story began after Ambassador Spock disappeared.
Here we go.
Into the rupture in the space-time continuum, creating the alternate timeline that contains the J.J. Abrams film universe, or the Kelvin universe.
Okay.
This tale takes place in the Prime universe. Now, Bryan said Prime means...
Okay, here's something else. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I love this. So if you're a Midnight's Edge fan, or you're a fan of the 25% theory, a lot of people came back and swore up and down that Burnett was all behind the 25% and that he backed up Midnight's Edge. This is to that. He eventually will get to the plot, I assure you.
Meaning our universe. I think it was understood up until recently that the Prime universe was the original canonical Star Trek universe, and the Kelvin universe was the Kelvin universe. There were 2 Star Trek timelines. And from what Bryan told me a number of years ago, I had asked him about rights issues and things, and he had told me at one point that he was not ever told it had to be 25% different. That he
Boom!
was working in the canonical prime
Oh!
Star Trek universe when he created Discovery.
Oh, feels so good.
So Bryan had said that.
Yeah.
Here's part of what was written in Bryan's Data and Picard story.
All right, here's the
The
story.
planet Romulus is experiencing a worldwide evacuation as its star is about to go supernova. Leading that evacuation is Captain Data, coordinating a massive effort with fleets of starships. The Romulan star goes kablooey, its shockwave racing toward the planet and certain destruction. Captain Data thinks quickly, employing 7 of 9 and a fleet of Borg expats from the long-defeated Borg to save as many as possible with mass assimilation technology. It's a brilliant and terrifying move, and a questionable one. The mission is only a partial success, and those rescued were traumatized by Borg ships appearing in their atmosphere and scooping up Romulans as if they were being assimilated. This raises questions in Data's leadership style and his insensitivity to organics. Meanwhile, Ambassador Picard is having a difficult time finding homes for Romulan refugees. Their sister planet Vulcan wants nothing to do with them, and Starfleet has new concerns with Data's support of 7 of 9 and the Borg expats. With this all makes sense, obviously, because Bryan was heavily involved with Voyager. He was a
All right. So, a couple of things. We'll get to that. Nathan, I don't think that's right. Bryan said that he registered it with the WEA. He did. I think it's WGA, not WEA. Maybe I'm wrong on that. That means the story is his, and they would steal his permission to use the story in part or in total. No, it doesn't. It doesn't exactly work like that. Because I could create a Star Wars story, and I could take what they're doing with Rey and create a story with Rey, and then register it with the WEA, WGA, or try to copyright it. And I'm still using, even though that is a unique story, I'm using everything from Star Wars, and it's not my original work except for the story itself, and they could still use it. I don't know if there's more nuance to it than that. There may be some nuance that allows him to somehow keep the rights, but I don't know how that works necessarily. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act is so vague that it makes things like this very confusing. Because in theory, you could like the Overwatch porn stuff or the fanfic stuff. You could claim that's under fair use, but it's really weird, and it's very nuanced. So, all that said, let's look at the story itself. You have Captain Data, so already we're not looking at this since Data is gone, right? Captain Data attempts to save Romulus, utilizing the Borg to save the Romulans, which creates PTSD in the Romulans, and so people are starting to question Data's choice, right? And so now you have Picard having to justify it. I personally don't get any of that vibe at all. There's no connection there that I personally see. Except for you have Romulans, you have Picard, you have Data, and you have the destruction of Romulus. But that, well, we're assuming the destruction of Romulus, right? So I myself am not seeing how this is connected. I'm not saying that it isn't. Again, Burnett himself says that, it's based off 2 minutes, so he could be wildly off. But a lot of people are taking this and running, and just like the 25%, I simply don't see it. I would be interested in your guys' opinion on all of this. By the way, if you're watching this, don't forget to hit that like button. More people that watch, and the more people that like this, the more it's shown to people who don't subscribe to the channel, the more of a conversation we're going to have. It is drastically advantageous for you to hit it for both you and me. Virginia Hansen, it has the same characters, but I don't think the trailer, as it stands, justifies calling it a ripoff. It could go an entirely different direction. Like, here's the thing. If it goes this way, if it goes the way Burnett just described, I would say the trailer is horrendously misleading on the plot. The plot itself, to me, the plot itself to me is drastically different. ASM artist, I see that here we rather talk about fictional things than real world things. Well, this is a channel called Lore Reloaded, where the focus is on mythos and lore of science fiction. So yeah, I know you wanted to. I know you want to talk about something different, and if it moves that way, we can. But yeah, we're going to talk about science fiction a lot here. So if you don't like that, this may not be the channel for you. But the like button bit me the last time. Well, you shouldn't have hit it so hard. It's all about how you touch it. You got to love the like button. In Star Trek Online, Sela and the Tal Shiar try to take over most of it, but the destruction of Romulus definitely can lead to a civil war situation. I do think they're going to go Star Trek Online. I agree with Dave Gorman, who says it's Star Trek Online. I think that Star Trek Online and the producers, executives have gotten together, and they're now working more closely than they ever have. I don't think they're going to keep themselves or restrict themselves to Star Trek Online, but I do think they're going to stay similar to Star Trek Online itself. I sincerely believe that. Didn't Babylon 5 accuse DF9 of stealing its concept? I feel like it's the same thing here. DS9 might be a bit based on BS5, but it's not a direct ripoff. Yeah, I've watched both series multiple times, both Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine, with some questionable things, some things that really are weird. I don't think they're a copy or a direct ripoff of each other. I don't. You got to caress the like button a bit first before you ram your finger on it. That is exactly right, Al Wafer. That's exactly how you handle it. So I really don't, at this point, I don't think there's any reason to believe that it's been stolen. The Romulan Star Empire, a literal empire of planets that spans dozens of worlds and vast tracts of territory. How can they not find a home? And what about the Remans of Remus? Yeah, I don't know if they're going to bring up the Remans at all. They may. But Star Trek has always been about, if you destroy the capital, you win the war. Always. We saw that multiple times in TNG and once or twice in Deep Space Nine. So the fact that they're saying, Romulus was destroyed, thus the Romulans were destroyed, it's just the way it works. Ariel Belay says, money before your health hits 0. We don't want to see what happens to you. No, it's the boss. The boss is trying to kill me, and you're taking out the boss, so you're helping out. And again, thank you so much, Ariel Belete. As I say, it's donations like that, Patreons, memberships, and viewers like you that keep this going, so thank you so much. So, I mean, that's just the way Trek has always been, right? That you destroy the capital, you destroy everything, right? The other, would Remus be destroyed too? Yes, Remus was orbiting Romulus, I think, so it would. So the other question is this a Star Trek Renegades copy, or did they steal from Star Trek Renegades? I sincerely don't think they did either. Again, just because it has a similar theme doesn't mean that it's actually stolen, and I don't see where they're getting that. Again, So Star Trek Renegades decided to do a ship that wasn't in the Federation and was an independent civilian ship that helped out the Federation. There's only so many stories that you can tell in the Star Trek universe, and that's going to be the next natural one. I like Star Trek Renegades, don't get me wrong, but that's not exactly the most original idea that you could have, right? There's nothing in it that indicates to me that it's based off of Star Trek Renegades at all. I don't see a hologram yet. I don't see a holographic character that doesn't know that they're holographic. I don't. The lead isn't a strong female. They don't have the same past. There isn't a tie-in with Section 31 and what's his name, the one kid, Icha, whatever, random Borg kid 7678. I just don't see it. If you guys do, please let me know. I'd love your thoughts, but I just personally don't, you know? Catfished again. Yes, Nassam, I catfished you again. I really don't see a connection, says Fighting Falcon 777, between this concept and Star Trek Renegades. They seem, at least to me, that they're very different stories. I agree, beyond the fact that it's an independent possible cargo ship. Echab, yeah, that's the name I was looking for. I don't see it either, right? Question for Lore Reloaded. How would you take control of the Alpha and Beta quadrants? You must take the United Federation of Planets, the Klingon Empire, Romulan Star Empire, Cardassian Union, FA, Ferengi Alliance, TA. Who are TA and TC? TA and TC. I don't know. I would pit the Romulan Star Empire and the United Federation of Planets against each other. At which point I would then utilize the Klingon Empire to be too hostile towards the Romulan Star Empire, thus causing issues between the Federation and the Klingons. Cardassian Union would stick to themselves. The Ferengi, well, I guess I could, well, the FA you can't really do a lot with. Probably use the Cardassian Union to take advantage of it and push into Federation territory. I mean, if I just had control and could do that. Ariel Belay says Star Trek Pirates. Picard's Pirates. That's what they should be. They should be the PPs. Picard's Pirates. The Tholian Assembly. Gotcha. Who's the TC then? The Tholian Assembly. I mean, the Tholians are always a random card. We don't have a lot on it. The Star Trek Federation cargo ship was armed to the teeth for a civilian Federation ship. Are you talking about in Renegades? I would agree with that, definitely. My thing is I don't care if it's ripped off as long as it's good. The DS9B5 thing doesn't bug me. We got 2 good series out of it. I still don't think it was ripped off. I think there are a couple of things that are like crazy that may have borrowed off of one another. I think here's the thing with that. Babylon 5, oh man. They did a lot of homages and a lot of things that they borrowed throughout the series. So for as much as people get onto DS9 for stealing Babylon 5, if you watch Babylon 5, he wasn't exactly original in a lot of the writing. Like Babylon 5, like JMS, not personal, just the way the stuff is written. Nathan Norman, so the Cardassians and Klingons are going to eat up the Romulan Empire. Are the Federation going to take over? A huge impact on the Alpha powers? Yes. No, oh, the Zenkethi Coalition. They aren't even a real power. Nobody likes the Zenkethi. So she's not Shinzon's kid, Dodge the Destroyer. Shinzon isn't in the original timeline. There's no way. I mean, are you trying to say it was Shinzon's kid before Shinzon went missing? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't jive for me. Honestly, I think exploring the Tholians and the Breen would be really awesome. They might still be able to do that. They might utilize the Romulan as a catalyst because everyone knows who the Romulans are, and then try to bring in things like the Tholians and the Breen, things like that. ASMR Artists says, okay, just tell me one thing. Would you like to see the modern day humanity move towards a more TNG-based existence? How would we do that without discussion? First off, no, I don't want humanity to move into what the next generation was generally. I might want them to move into a Deep Space Nine mentality, and specific to what we see on the station of Deep Space Nine, and not necessarily what we see on Earth for Deep Space Nine. Humanity, while having a lot of great things, also had some very horrific and barbaric things. Wrong Think was a thing, if you read between the lines, and there was also a government control over civilian thought and opinion. Government dystopian view when it comes to how the civilians reacted to everything that was absolutely scary as hell. So I think there are some good things about humanity to be more than the sum of your parts, to want to help everybody. But do I want it full stock? Absolutely not. There were some negative pieces that we see in the writing. The new hero ship should be the USS Burnham. It should. I agree. She's a changeling. That's it. We figured it out, everybody. Daj is a changeling. She's a Borg changeling. A Borg changeling. Yep. So let me ask you guys this. Red Letter Media is very, very pessimistic about all of this, which is unfortunate. I do agree with something they did say, where, you have a younger audience that didn't go through everything millennials and others went through. Millennials, by the way, are in their 30s and 40s now, have kids, are writing this stuff. But so they have to go to a younger audience. And so they're hitting all the high points that you should know with the series, the Romulan, the Borg, Picard, the Make It So, which I guess makes sense. I don't think that they're necessarily going to have to do it to the lowest denominator, even if they have to at least put some stuff in there that appeals to them. I'm not. I don't know. I'd love your thoughts on it. I think that you could create a really good story with what we have. I would be curious. I mentioned this in my comment on your video today about Daj, but do you believe it's possible we could see Chakotay in Picard since him and Seven started a relationship? I mean, it's possible. I don't think they'll bring him back, though. I think there was some issues with the actor. I think she's a born child of the liberated Borg. I mean, that's possible. That's an idea that I forgot to include in my original script, where the firstborn child between a Borg and non-Borg that has Borg technology, which could possibly give her the ability to either control other Borg or just this new species, which would be interesting. I don't know how that's the end of the world necessarily, but another idea, the Borg Queen, we simply just don't know. And that's the honest to God truth. We have no idea where they're going or how this will end. But to make her a former Borg Queen, or possibly the Borg Queen, deconstructed, and then to have her have the ability to control anyone who has a Borg implant could be really... I could see that being very interesting, honestly. And then if you tie in, this is from Katwalski, of course, and then if you tie in that the Romulans were trying to get her so they could control them and use them like sleepers, I think that could be a good story. I would love to see that. Will Sisko return as the emissary? Picard already dealt with Q merging with a prophet in the recent J.J. Kirk DS9 crossover. You know what would be fun? I wish they'd do, but probably not. What would be fun is that either the Borg cube activates, or there's some kind of Borg that either weren't destroyed or something happened, and you got a Borg ship. Probably not a cube. Let's say a Borg sphere. And so you have Picard having to deal with this Borg sphere. He doesn't know what he's going to do, and then all of a sudden, you hear, "Hey, hello, Jean-Luc," or a ship appears, and it's Sisko. And so now you have a Sisko-Picard team-up going against a Borg cube. So I think that would be really a very cool plot if it was done right. Rodby says, I really think that Dodge, though he spelled it Dodge, is a fusion of Borg and data positronic brain tech. Yeah, but to what purpose? Why would they do that? if she is some kind of Borg queen-like entity, that could be interesting in that she seems to be more separate from the hive mind compared to the queen, traditionally, who, as I think you have said, here's the queen has always been able to act independently. She has talked independent. She can't be a standard human unless they really don't care about continuity. A standard human by themselves would not be able to take on 3 Romulans in the high-tech gear. What's going on, Trek Reviewer? In the high-tech gear that they have. Additionally, she wouldn't be able to do the moves that we see, right? So I don't think so. Do you think that Seth MacFarlane could get Patrick Stewart on the Orville at this point, or do you think they'll be competing shows? I think they're competing shows, and I know people like Sir Patrick Stewart, and by the way, thank you so much for donating. It is how I keep the lights on. It's really appreciated. Sir Patrick Stewart, Riker's actor, all of them actually have signed agreements that they will not be on anything that competes in that way. I know because I tried to talk, what's his name? The person who played Riker. I met him and tried to get him to do a quick intro for me. And he actually talked about how he couldn't because he had signed documents. So if you're Sir Patrick Stewart, if you're a Riker, maybe even well, not Troy, but I know those two specifically. Shatner. Well, that may have lapsed, but originally he would have signed one where they can't do anything as their characters or that would compete. Could you tell us how you designed the Ultimate Federation ship? Akira. Akira class is how I would design the perfect ship. Robert Peter Brachet, just one comment before I go, but I'd love a new character in Picard to be Lori loaded in a street walking wig. Sure, maybe. You never know. Could happen. I don't mean to change the subject, but have you read the Q Conflict comics series? And if so, what did you think? I'll probably do a breakdown of them in the future. I've read one, but I don't know. Isn't Jonathan Frakes on both the Orville and Picard? Was he on the Orville? I know, and again, it may have been a while back, and this was definitely before the Discovery era came up. So maybe it lapsed, or maybe there's something different. But back when he was still apart, and TNG or DS9 was still going on. DS9 and Voyager were still going on. There were agreements. He couldn't appear. I couldn't appear in it. I don't know how directing works. Let me rephrase that. I don't know if they're allowed to direct or not. How do you think the arc with... Dahj is spelled D-A-H-J, by the way. How do you think the arc with Sela have changed if Tasha did not die in season 1? I think we would have had the same arc, just a different character. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I'd have to think how it would have had some dramatic impacts, though, for sure. Why didn't the Khitomer Accords ever expand to include other major or minor powers? Because it was an agreement between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, just like most agreements between major countries in the real world don't expand to others, is my guess. Maybe he just didn't want to do it and didn't want to hurt your feelings. I disagree, but maybe. But actually no, because I thought that too, and there is actual contracts that CBS makes them sign. You can go. I'll either provide it here, or you can go check it. But because I remember thinking that too, I was like, is he trying to be nice? But no, they do actually have it written in their agreements. Interestingly enough, Battlestar Galactica didn't do that, and I have a couple of intros from. I have an intro from not Starbuck, Apollo, and from the actor who played the dude who was good at not rugby, but whatever the hell that was. He ultimately was a Cylon and got a bullet in his brain. I forget his name. I got 2 intros from them, which is funny as hell. Nathan Norman, she's an augment that's designed to become the perfect Borg to rebuild the Borg bigger and betterer and than ever so they can bring back the body horror that is assimilation. Maybe. Maybe. By the way, guys, I'm open to any other conversations if you guys would like. Yesterday's Enterprise never happened, good friend. How would Starfleet change if the Federation was more Andorian culturally? Would it actually not be a worthless organization? I think that the humans and Andorians are very much alike. I think we would have had something similar to it. So I think that it would. Star Trek Insurrection did mention a ban of all subspace weapons accords. Sure, but that's not the Kittimer Accords. I like your new ancient Roman hairstyle. Well, I did it for you, Xavier. I'm glad you like it. Why does the Federation have families living on Starfleet ships? Because they're idiots. Every last one of them. Every admiral from the TNG era up until DS9, until the war itself, they were all as stupid as you could be. They were the most ignorant people on the face of the planet. Families on ships is a horrific idea that only people who don't have families on ships would like. The Borg and many, many other species, like the ones that steal the organs from still living people, love that idea. It is absolutely, positively ridiculous. And anyone who defends it is a bad person. Like, that's just science. Could Dodge be a product of the Borg Cooperative? She could. A lot of people think Q is in it. I don't think that's Hugh. I honest to God, don't think that's Hugh at all. Nassim Agdam helping out for the lore. For the lore indeed. Also for the horde, but mostly the lore. With Lower Decks, they have an animated series, but still only have humans and Vulcans. I think they're racist against Andorians and Tellareds. I believe one of the chicks on there is also Orion. Because she's green. Honestly, that's the only reason I think that. Honestly, I feel about the cartoon what I feel about a R-rated Tarantino. It goes so against what Trek was supposed to be that I'm not sure that it'll work. But I'm going to try to have an open mind and see where they go with it. Lower Decks is talking about officers who are, I'm assuming, screw-ups, who are going to the least important ships in the fleet, doing odd jobs. Star Trek has always been about being a utopia, about being better than what you could be, about humanity going into the stars. And I think even Discovery had that a little bit. And Picard seems like it'll definitely have that. But Lower Decks is not about that. It's about making it a joke. And Tarantino's R is about a more realistic Star Trek universe, I guess is a way of putting it. And that is just as opposite as you can be. So I'm going to keep an open mind, but I'm not completely convinced. By the way, people, 98 people watching this, only 55 likes. Come on, guys. As soon as you join, hit that like button. What do I got to tell you? Why does it got to be like that? Additionally, if you want to help out, you can consider giving super chats or become a patron at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded, or become a member by hitting join. The memberships are similar to the Patreons now, so it works out about the same if you don't want to give to Patreon. The more you support the channel, the more I can do, the more live action, the more in depth, not just Star Trek, but everything else. Battletech, MechWarrior, Battlestar Galactica. I'm going to be doing STF Macross in the next couple of weeks, so yeah. Hey, we need the Barclays. Yeah, but even so going back to what I was speaking about when it comes to not being the best of the best, even Barclay was about overcoming your issues, and he became one of the most knowledgeable and most important people in Starfleet. So it's still the spirit. Band of Barclays would be a good comment. I agree with that. In a straight-up station firefight between DS9 and Babylon 5, which station wins? Babylon 5. Or not Babylon 5, I'm sorry, Deep Space Nine. Hands down. Especially with the ability to beam things aboard. Yeah. The lower deck uniforms are very similar to the 93 Star Trek Generation toy line. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of it is a cash grab to sell things. Hit that like button. I did my part. That's right. Do your part. They kept the Oberth class long after it proved to be a death trap. So like I said earlier, Earth is just overflowing with jerks. Yeah, I would agree. You know, but I say that, and here's the thing with the cartoon. It could very well be. It could absolutely very well be that the Lower Decks is going to do that. That they start off as misfits that can't do anything and work their way up. When are you and Papa Tex going to do a co-op vid? I have to send him. I'm going to try to send him the script today or tomorrow, hopefully, and then he's going to proof it, and then we're gonna have that coming up soon, hopefully. A lot of that's been on my side because I've been so busy and stuff. Howard Gleason helping out the channel. Thank you so much. It really, you can't even. I made it. Have you admitted your love of Wesley? I do. I just absolutely love the Wesley character. I think he probably is the best character that ever existed, and definitely not only do I love the Wesley character, but I think the actor is probably the pinnacle of humanity. So that's all fact. Alexander Hagen just stopped by to say thank you for the content. Alexander and Howard, thank you guys so much. It's how I keep the lights on. I'm glad you enjoy the content. I do it for you. I did it all for you. But remember, you gotta caress the like button. That's right. You can't just hit the button. You gotta caress it. I did my part. I know that's from Starship Troopers. I agree. Star Trek Lower Decks really should have been 3D animation CGI on an Oberth. I thought it was originally going to be on Oberth, but I guess not. No, it proves that I'm a changeling, or 8472. From what I understood, Lower Decks is not about a bunch of screw-ups, but about new junior officers on their first assignments aboard a support vessel. Now, they say all of the I won't say propaganda, but that's not the word. All of the marketing for it, propaganda is a form of marketing, but still, all of the marketing for it is talking about them being on the least important ship and the least important crewmates. So, I mean, it is. What kind of Star Trek porn do I prefer? There really hasn't been any good Star Trek porn that I've found. I don't like the TOS ones. TNG was okay, but still weird. And there's not truly been a Deep Space Nine one that I know of. So, nothing I've really been impressed with. Police Academy in space, but like Star Trek. Maybe. Get you someone who loves you the way that Will Wheaton loves Will Wheaton. I agree with that, Virginia. I need to find someone who looks at me the way Will Wheaton looks at himself. That is full show. Also, Laura, I hear people in the background. So hello, random. Those would be my kids. Schneeflock. I talk about most anything you want to talk about. So, if you don't want to hear it, don't bring it up. That's the way... That's just the way it goes, good friends. The Oberth class actually was named the O-Death class. It's just Oberth was the nickname. O-Death is actually the official one. I'm sad no one has taken advantage of the obvious title Star Trek Deep Space. They did, but it just wasn't it wasn't really a good tie-in to Deep Space Nine. There literally is one that's like Station 69 or something like that. It's stupid. No plot. That's what I look at that stuff. 2 am I with Deanna. Okay. It'll be on an ore freighter. All right, you guys have anything else we want to discuss, or have we gone as far? I don't know that Burnett says anything else. Let's see if he says anything else important.
The producer, he was a writer. He wrote many of the show's great episodes. And obviously 7 of 9 and the Borg were a big part of that. So this would have been a continuation of many concepts and themes that were set up in Star Trek Voyager, which were amazing.
That was Burnett. For those who just joined, I disagree that anything in Star Trek Voyager, when it comes to the Borg, especially towards the end, was amazing. We will agree to disagree when it comes to that. Yeah, I mean, the more he's talking about how it was similar. I mean, it's Star Trek. You can only use so many things. The one thing I don't like about Star Trek Picard is that, again, it is once again, what's going on, Son of the Allfather? Once again, it's like the end of the universe that, we have to save the galaxy. Deep Space Nine, you do have the Dominion arc, but Deep Space Nine would have brilliant episodes. TNG would have brilliant episodes. TOS would have brilliant episodes that were small scale. You don't always have to save the world. You don't always have to save the universe. Sometimes saving a ship is powerful. Sometimes saving a person is powerful. Laura, you not a big fan of Voyager? I've noticed you haven't covered much of that series. I've actually covered quite a bit of that series. I've put people on trial. I've gone through episodes. I've discussed religion. I have a Borg series that has mostly Voyager in it because that's where we see a lot of the Borg. I think Voyager took a lot of missteps. I think that the Janeway character is one of the best villains that I have ever seen. And that her slow move into madness is exceptional. I think Voyager has some excellent episodes, but I think the way they wrote the characters and the stifling that Berman had on it caused it to not do well. Berman wanted to stay true to Roddenberry. I talked about this last time. And I don't, I've done videos where I kind of attacked Berman that I regret. I think Berman just had a style of writing that was no longer what audiences wanted. And I think that's why Voyager fails. Lore, what are your thoughts on the motion picture? Any movie that I can get up and walk out and go get my car fixed, make sure that all of my payments are coming in, fly to New Jersey, then to Greece, and come back, and the movie still hasn't progressed, is a good movie, in my opinion. But if you want my real opinions on the motion picture, if you want my real opinions on all of the movies, if you want to break down a review and lore breakdown as good as what you saw in The Measure of a Man, then you should consider becoming a Patreon or joining the memberships, because as soon as I can do it without getting hit with advertisements, taking the hit from advertisements, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing a full breakdown of all of the Trek movies, and then other sci-fi movies too. How long do you think Phase 2 would have gone if we had it instead of the motion picture? I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But yeah, I mean, that female admiral seems like an older version of Commander Deanna Troi or old Beverly Crusher Picard or Admiral Catherine Janeway. Which female admiral? There's been multiple. Brent Spiner playing B4 just before Picard has him deactivated to reinstall into the new female android. That's who Daj is. The best part of TMP was the majestic reveal of the refitted Enterprise. I think that the motion picture was interesting, but also had the flaws because originally, and I'm going to be doing more research and talking about this, but originally, what's the word I'm looking for? It was going to be several episodes that they tried to make into a movie. And I think you can see that a little bit. What is your favorite time paradox in any movie? Oh, hell, I'd have to think of that. Do I think Admiral Shelby? Do we think that's Admiral Shelby? I don't think so. Let me Star Trek Picard. Let me take a look at her. I don't think that that's Admiral Shelby. Whoa. How about we not play audio? I like CBS not hitting me with stuff. Where is it? Where, oh, where? No, that's not Shelby. That's not Shelby at all. How would I write to fix the Crusher Boy? He's just too much of a Mary Sue character. Wesley's probably the worst Mary Sue character that has ever been in Trek, in my opinion. And they tried to make him work when he quite obviously didn't. He should have been what Sisko's son, Jake. He should have been the Jake of TNG to either Picard or to Beverly. That's the same actor? No way. That's Shelby? No. Elizabeth Hannah Dennehy. Oh my God, she looks so much different in her profile picture. That is not the same actress. There is absolutely no way. No, could not. Don't believe it. Hold on. Let's go to IMDb, because that's not going to lie to me. Freaking crazy. Let's see. Okay, so it's not in her IMDb. But let's go to the Star Trek Picard series IMDb. Elizabeth Dennehy. Let's see if she's there. Cast. Yeah, it's not showing her anywhere in the IMDb on either side. That is not... Does it show who it is, though? I mean, it'd have to. Who's the Admiral? Let's go here. Eleanor, Taryn, William Riker, Young Sonj, Captain Emily. Captain Emily, that's interesting. Checkpoint Supervisor, Romulan Technician, Deanna Troi, Romnov, Starfleet Captain, uncredited. Yeah, it's not showing them. Let me say this though. I would love for it to be. I think it'd be cool if it was that Admiral, but I don't think it is. She's not credited on her IMDb nor this one, and they would by now have it on the IMDb. What about bringing back Kalis? I don't see the point. I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think it'd be a misstep. I'd say Burnham is a worse Mary Sue. At least Wesley was based on Gene Roddenberry's actual dream. No, Gene Roddenberry had some horrific ideas. I know people don't like hearing that, but I just because it came from Gene Roddenberry doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm glad Roddenberry came up with this, but I do not at any point think that he, just because it came from him means that's a good idea. I honestly think that Wesley is more of a Mary Sue than Burnham. I do. He basically becomes like what, Space Jesus or something like that. He can do no wrong. He knows more. He knows more than the chief engineer, an android, and the captain. So, I do hope it's her. So don't get me wrong on that, right? It'd be cool if it's her. I think it'd be a nice tie-in. I think there'd be a lot of fun. I just don't think it is, Am I the only one who doesn't want all the drama and just wants to enjoy my Trek the way it is, the final product? I know you're a very skeptical guy, but do you, I don't know, enjoy stuff? So, Vova Cat with mostly Russian, I'm guessing that's Russian name? Can you expand on that? Am I the only one who doesn't want all the drama and just wants to enjoy my Trek the way it is? Can you talk to me about where I am getting dramatic? Perhaps. I would say the way you enjoy something and the way I enjoy something are two different things. When I research Babylon 5 and I see a story plot that was started in episode 1 and then is finalized in the 50th episode, I get a lot from that. When I look into Star Trek Deep Space Nine and I see ships named after innocuous people in TNG, I find that really interesting. When I break down and know when I break down the way Starfleet operates and go through how Starfleet interacts with itself and how they bring everything together, I think that is some of the funnest things. When I look at how Deep Space Nine shows the evolution of Starfleet from its pacifistic age to something that actually resembles what would be realistic and what would be hopeful for humanity, I get a lot out of that. And when I look and I see a lot of stupid stuff and how it doesn't make any sense and how the writers just simply didn't watch it and point that out, I enjoy that too. So it could be that we just enjoy different things, but I'll ask you again, what have I been dramatic about, and how is that removing the fun? Nathan, what's your opinion on Kate Mulgrew saying that Star Trek is misogynistic and sexist? Well, first off, I don't believe she said that. I could be wrong. I believe she talked about the original series being misogynistic and sexist. Secondly, this isn't the first time she's done that. I follow her on Twitter. And on Twitter, all the time, she talks about how she had to fight the man when it comes to her being a part of Star Trek. That said, when she's challenged, she never really, points out who it was. Just this, I'll wait for you, have to go. Had a lot of fun. Just this, she talks superfluous. She never really names names, but she says that it was horrible, right? So, this isn't outside of the character of what Mulgrew does or what she says. I think she's a wonderful person. I'd love to meet her. She's so fun, especially at conventions and stuff, so don't take it that way. But she has an opinion that I may not always agree with. That said, the original series was pretty, in my opinion, was pretty sexist by 2019 standards. I think that Kirk was a heel, and he did at some points take advantage. He was too friendly, especially for an officer. The way he looked at women sometimes was very uncomfortable, and I think he did some things that aren't okay by our standards. That said, the thing I keep saying, this thing I keep bringing up, is that by their standards, right? I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it's what happened in the 60s. In the 1800s, people were owned as property. I don't think that's okay. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. But you can see how the culture looked at it, right? And you can see why it happened because of the culture. So it just is what it is. Kate Mulgrew apparently hated Jerry Ryan because she was the eye candy that Kate Mulgrew didn't want on Voyager. That has been... I think there's enough evidence that proves that, yeah. And I hate that, because Kate Mulgrew, from what I can tell, is a wonderful person. She seems really nice. So I hate that there was issues between her and Jerry Ryan. Though, that said, you want to talk about sexual harassment. Some of the stories that I read about Jerry Ryan and what Jerry Ryan would do would not be okay if males did it. Which just comes to show the duplicity of it all, honestly, I don't know. I'm probably going to get quote mine to hell and back for people who don't like me. There are channels dedicated to the destruction of Lore Reloaded. Like, that just blows my mind. People have went out there. There are Reddit posts about how I'm alt-right. It just blows my mind. Virginia Hanson, Mulgrew was just jealous that she and her character were so bad. 7 of 9 was not only more attractive, but a better character with better character development. I can't say I agree necessarily. I liked Janeway. I think Mulgrew is a wonderful actress, and I think Janeway, when she's written well, is wonderful. That's just my opinion, of course. Alexander Hagen, what did Jerry Ryan... $1.99 helping out the channel. What did Jerry Ryan do? I'd have to go and find it, but I know that she would pinch the butts of people, or she would inappropriately, not like, she never touched a sexual organ or anything, but she would inappropriately touch people. She'd get too close to them, or she'd be a little overly sexual. And this is from comments from cast and crew of Voyager, and I believe some of the actors. I think, I don't want to say that. And that's not necessarily, personally, I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong. If someone says stop it and you stop it, I think, you can do whatever you want. My point was, you had females who did similar things. And so they're the double standard there. I'm not trying to put her down or saying it was wrong. I'm just saying, it's what happened. Vovacat, I have my criticism for Discovery. The only important thing is it would just feel, its world just feels really small. Star Trek to me was always about good characters who are more of a regular people at their jobs. I don't know for me if it was about regular people. I think it's about idealized humanity. Generally was what it tried to be about, and I even think Discovery tried to do that. Janeway was the most poorly written character. She was a very poorly written character, generally. I agree. Laura, have you seen the story of how Jerry Ryan is kind of connected to the election of Obama as president? I saw something about that, but it was really silly, if I remember correctly. I think she's forgotten what it was like back when then one interracial kiss, African Americans not discriminated, and Kirk even had an African American co. It was pretty liberal for its day. Yes, see, that's what I'm talking about, though. So, was the original series sexist and misogynistic? By 2019 standards, yes. I don't know what happened off screen. I didn't really look a lot into that. But on screen, since I have seen the original series multiple times now, Kirk was creepy in a lot of instances. And he was inappropriate in a lot of instances. Oh, that's on camera. That's what they wrote him to be like that. That's not when he thinks he can get away with. Not that Shatner would, but that you know what I'm saying. Well, Shatner is extremely inappropriate anyway, in my opinion. And so that's just what happened in the 60s. Whether it's right or wrong, it is what happened. And to your point, Trek has always been generally pretty left-leaning, and they did a lot of progressive things. But even then, even progressive, that was just the culture. Again, doesn't make it right. Why do I have to keep saying that? I hate that we're in a culture where I have to keep saying that. Yeah, cute, fuzzy wuzzle. It's okay to call it a product of its time. Exactly. It doesn't mean you endorse it. Frosty Thunder Trod says, people always surprised women like sex too. They do, and they like being males. When you take a look at when it comes to cheating or infidelity, if women go to work the same as men, the numbers equalize. It's amazing. Women like it just as much as men do. It's crazy. When I watched the original series, I was a kid, so I don't notice those sexist things. Guess I have it in good memory. Yeah, Captain Geronimo, I don't even think it's... You can still enjoy something and notice when something was wrong for its time, in my opinion. That's just me. What do I know? I'm a guy on the internet. Is there anything else we want to talk about, or are we going to be ending it here, good folks? Ending it here. Jerry's ex-husband was busted by her for sexual predator nature when he was doing his primary candidacy. Yeah, I remember something about that. Rodby comes back to a giant political debate. We aren't debating anything, my good friend. There is no debate when it comes to politics. I will not do it. Is it possible to do horror in Trek? I think Red Letter Media has it right when they talk about how all of the original series is basically one huge horror series. I think there are some aspects when horror was done well. I'd have to think about it, but I feel like there are some episodes they had horror. Maybe the Oberth was an early Starfleet civilian scientist program with the military up top and science on the bottom. The Oberth was there's evidence to believe that the Oberth was a civilian Starfleet hybrid originally. So Picard series is a hack work stolen from Fuller. I don't believe that, Otaka Senpai. We've discussed that. It just doesn't seem to match up just yet. Will Picard series redeem Trek? No. If you're looking for nostalgia Trek, if you're looking for Trek that you grew up with, it will not. It's going to have the aesthetics of Discovery. The Discovery is canon and continuity, blah, blah, blah. It's going to have all of that. And if you don't like that, if you don't like the way writing is now, then it's not going to redeem it for you. No. But that doesn't mean it can't be a good series. That doesn't mean it can't be good for what Trek is. That's the thing that people have to understand, and I get it. I get why channels do this. Look, you can make a lot of money off of saying how much stuff sucks because it's not nostalgic. Things change. They're going to change, and they're going to stay changed. There's nothing we can do about that, guys. Nothing. So, the only thing we can do is enjoy it for what it is and what it is now. And if it's not good enough now, if it's not, if it's become a shell of what it is, then maybe it's time for it to go away. Why does no one wear effective armor in Trek? They have armor in Trek. We had armor in Discovery. We have armor in the original series. TNG didn't have armor, and Deep Space Nine talked about personal shields. You just never really see them on screen when it comes to personal shielding, and I guess armor just didn't work. How well would the Cisco be in the TOS era? I mean, if you're talking about in universe, he'd be fine. In universe, he would have just been a captain like anyone else doing it the way that he did. That's the great thing about the Star Trek universe. Everyone's supposed to be equal. They're supposed to be on the same par. Everybody is able to do what they want to do, in theory. Now, how it would have shown on, I don't know. Got a dash. Talk to you later. Hey, guys, you guys should check out Captain Geronimo's channel. I don't know that I've seen a video recently, but he does Star Trek Online. It's pretty fun. Talk to you later, Geronimo. Volva Cat, you're just coming out of left field. I guess it's not okay if you have a movie with black actors playing 19th century European nobility. I mean, I know some really amazing African-American actors, as do I, but doesn't historical accuracy matter? It depends on what you're talking about. I mean, yes and no. DS9 addressed this. It doesn't matter if you just want to tell a good story and that's the best actor for the story. It does matter if you're trying to say it's historically accurate. For instance, in Beauty and the Beast, the redone Beauty and the Beast, they have some really talented black actors, but France was nowhere near that diverse, nor were they that open to ideas. That is a complete recreation and inaccuracy when it comes to how France during that time. That said, it's Beauty and the Beast. No one cares. It's supposed to be an uplifting tale about the hero and the damsel and all that good stuff. So it doesn't matter there. Now, if you were doing a historical reenactment and staying true to what happened in history, then it matters. If these series do not regenerate Trek, I think Kurtzman will be let go. I don't think so. They've made him too powerful now. Maybe, but I don't think so. It'd be kind of distracting if you did a movie about the Zulus and all the actors were Japanese. I don't know who the Zulus are, so I guess I'll take your word about it. I think people dislike Nemesis because of the rather weak plot. I would agree with that. I think there's a lot of things to dislike about Nemesis. It was a cash grab. It was meant to try to be like a gaming thing. It was done pretty bad. Okay, guys, so I'm about to leave soon. 99 people watching, 80 likes. Can we get... there has to be 20 people who haven't liked it. Can we get 100 likes? Can you guys do it for me? How much of DS9 do you think we'll have in Picard? Not a lot. I don't think they'll have a lot of nostalgia Trek in it. I hope they do, but I doubt it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dominion War is never discussed. I think what angers me is that it's done not to pick the best actor, but to make a political statement. I agree, Virginia, and that's it's one of the horrific things I think is happening in modern cinema and modern movies is that it's done to meet some kind of quota. I think it's horrifically done. I think that it's a disservice, and I think that you demean everybody. If you have, like, with Cisco, Cisco was the best. The actor for Cisco was the best person for the job. And if you get the best person for the job, that's great. But if you just do it because they're black, because they're transsexual, because they're gay, because they're straight, you not only demean the work because you might not have the best person for the job, you demean the person. You demean what they stand for. Stratagem messing with me. I would like, but I literally popped in like 20 seconds ago, so I don't know if I actually like the content or not. Why don't you give me a teaser of what's going on? Well, Stratagem, you can just go ahead and hit that dislike button. How you like that for a 20-second filler to see if you like it or not? How's that make you feel? Huh? Thanks, Laura. Love the content and the lore. It makes me something. It makes me sad you have haters. Oh, well, everybody has haters. Yeah, you should go look on Reddit. There are quite a few articles and videos. And when I say hate videos, I'm not just saying disagree with me. I mean, they go after me personally. The Zulu Empire was an African empire from the 19th century. They were conquered by Brits in the 1870s. A good movie that showed one of the Zulu war battles is the movie Zulu. Okay, cool. Well, I remember that when DS9 was first on the air, there was a massive amount of vitriol about Cisco being a black captain. I don't remember that at all, Stratagem. It is quite possible that that did occur, but I do not remember that. Vovacat, yeah, I'm a Russian and I don't have the skin color as a sensitive topic idea in my culture. We have never enslaved them. We don't have the sentiment. We're like, yeah, black guy, cool. So first off, enslaving someone isn't necessarily why the impact occurs or not. Slavery happened in every country, including yours, my friend. Maybe not with African Americans and such, but Russians have their own skeletons in the closets they have to deal with. Slavery and racism occurred all over. So most Americans are the exact same way, though. Color isn't as impactful. Well, I'm glad you disliked it, Stratagem. I'm glad, buddy. As soon as Starfleet lost contact with USS Enterprise E and Nemesis, all the available starships should have pushed to move to the Enterprise. I agree. Would you like to see where the Enterprise series had left, and that is the birth of the Federation and the first years of it? Yes, I would have loved to seen that. The Romulan War, I think would have been absolutely just spectacular. So that would have been something I would have loved to see. Nathan, if that's true, I didn't know that. Would you like to see where Enterprise series... Oh, we already asked that. Yeah, I mean, that's not an attack. I'm sorry. I hope it didn't come off as an attack on you, Vovacat, but you were kind of talking about, well, we didn't go through it because we didn't enslave. Every country has had its own problems, its own skeletons, and every nation has I think I'd almost say every modern nation, most modern nations have, especially especially ones that have hit the Industrial Revolution, have endorsed in slavery. Oh, good. There's Laura's kids. Thought CBS got them. Where are my kids? Did my kids come by? Hey, did you guys walk over here? I literally didn't see them walking by. All right, guys, we're going to end it there. I want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.